see how many PIDs we're using. Silverlight was another gotcha for us. As we were going through the deployment mechanism, Silverlight was a real challenge because you can't push out with SCCM Silverlight. It has to be done locally. So what we ended up doing was, first we went back to 3CX and asked for a standalone installer, a nice MSI. They said, no, sorry, we can't do it. They looked into it, they just couldn't do it. So we went, okay, we'll figure something out. And we were either going to skip it if we couldn't figure something out, but what we ended up doing was pushing out a shortcut to the website, to the web URL, and having people download it and install it from there. So that seemed to work really well. Caller ID. William mentioned earlier when we were going through the interface on the extensions, how there was that one checkbox that disables caller ID. So you don't see who's talking to who, what number. That was from us. Our legal department and our news department pretty much demanded it because when our reporters are talking to, doing interviews and whatnot, they felt there was a confidentiality breach there. So if you had enough time on your hands where you could see, oh, reporter A was talking to this number, and you go out and reverse look up their phone number on Google, that wasn't okay to them. They had a little bit of an issue. So 3CX was kind enough to, again, get on the phone with us. We talked through what our needs were, and I think it was about 1 to 2 weeks later we had a solution from them. So they were very responsive. Nice job. Non-3CX, we had some issues, planning and history. So, you know, the overall planning of a project this big to go that quick with the amount of people we had was a definite challenge. And reconstructing the history of all the phones and how they're set up and the call queues and routings and what number rings where, it was a big challenge. Documentation, again, I mentioned that earlier, the lack of documentation would have eliminated the planning and history. Or if we had it, it would have eliminated that. So, and that was a non-3CX, but it was also a 3CX issue as well. We felt that what was provided out there from 3CX as far as our end users, it needed some help. So we actually did in-house documentation on how to use the soft phone, how to use the My Phone, and customized it to our needs. And that, you know, seemed to help us when the users actually read it. That was probably a bigger problem, getting the end users to read it. Headsets. Those were a fun challenge for me personally because when we started embarking down this road, the model that we had chosen, end of life. And so I hadn't ordered everything yet, and so when I went to order them, they said, "Oh, sorry, we don't have any." So I actually had Jabra go out and search through all the channels, and they were able to muster some up, and then it looked like there was going to be enough, and a week later, those were all gone. Turned out somebody else had started doing a VoIP proof of concept, and they went into the channel and bought them all. So we had to wait about 2 or 3 weeks for headsets. It was not fun. So if you're going to do headsets, make sure there's enough in the channel and make sure you buy them quick. Analog special configs. We had a lot more analog lines, and we still do have a lot of analogs. We have, I believe the number's 118 analog lines that are going into that we're using for the analog gateways. And they are mostly faxes. We have multifunction devices throughout the organization. But then we do have some phones that had to stay analog lines because there was no network drop there. So does anybody read the Minneapolis Star Tribune? Wow. Okay, one. So just as an example, we have one reporter. He's a sports guy. His name is Sid Hartman. Anybody ever heard that name? No? Okay. Sid is in his 90s. He's been there since the beginning of time. He drives to work every day, but trying to get him to use a new phone just was not going to happen. So we decided that Sid needed to stay on his analog phone, and life would be just the same for him. We also had some special configurations with analog lines, and that primarily falls to our heritage facility. It's the loud environment where the paper is being manufactured and assembled and bundled and put onto the trucks and whatnot. And so when phones would ring, there were things that there were bells attached to analog phones. There were lights, so that when the phone would ring, the light would come on or the bell would ring, and so it would be audible or visual. So we had to deal with those, and those had to come into an analog configuration. They provided some very unique challenges. And then finally, for us, vendor unfamiliarity. You say 3CX to a vendor, and they go 3C who? Okay. So getting the 3CX name out there is, it'll be very helpful moving forward, and it was key. We had a lot of conversations with Nuance and VoicePort, talking with what we needed them to do, and it was very challenging, but in the end we got through it. So there are some opportunities for improvement, as Mike mentioned earlier. We met yesterday with Mike and William, and kind of went through our configuration and gave them some ideas on what we'd like to see based on our needs and what might be helpful for everybody else as well. So first off is polling strategies. We have a few call centers, and the polling strategies, as we thought they should work, weren't exactly working right on the money. So that's something that they're going to look into for us, and ultimately it should trickle out to everything. Recording. The call recording for us wasn't the same as what we were used to from the Avaya, and our call center managers were kind of challenging us and pushing us to get something better. So we've asked for some modification or at least some better description, and so that's where we're looking there. 911 notifications. Everybody here has to deal with 911 and providing location and number and whatnot. And so we thought it would be helpful if they added some fields in whether it be the extension or tied in with Active Directory or something. We offered a few different ideas, but to provide more detail for 911.